Hey guys and gals, friends of YouTube, Love to Fly Helis here. Haven't had much in videos here lately. I've just been crazy busy as usual. Work's finally slowing down a little bit. For you guys watching the Cadet, I am going to get back on it. Hopefully in another week I'll be ready to get back on it and get it finished up. A lot of you guys are waiting on me, I know. But today we're going to do a little quick job. And this is a Freewing F-16 Falcon 70mm EDF jet. Excuse me. The reason I'm doing this today, I'm kind of putting it ahead. It doesn't take but a couple hours to put one of these together, and it's so easy. I'm going to do it right here on the bed. My plane room's kind of a wreck right now. I got to get my workbench cleaned up and before I can start back on the Cadet. But anyway, have a friend of mine, a young man in South Africa that has been flying for a while now with prop planes, and he's very interested in getting into EDF jets. And he asked me if he knew I was going to buy this one, so he asked me if I had it yet and if I would do a build on it and a flight review. And I'll be happy to do that for him. So Alex, here we go. It's a pretty simple build. It's not too bad. This one does have the thrust vectoring, and you can set that up in your radio if you have a computer radio, which I think you do, to where you can turn that on or off. And probably the first few flights you're going to want that off so it's not so sensitive to learn how to fly this thing. But they're not hard. I've seen you fly. You'll be fine. They're very easy to fly. So anyway, the first thing we're going to do is well, I've already named it in my radio. I'm putting all my electrics in this little Tactic TTX 650. And just a little short review on this. I've had this for a while now. I've got I don't know, 6 or 8 planes in it. Got several more to put in it. I love this little radio. It's a sweetheart. And for an entry-level beginner grade, this thing is sweet. It's got all the features of a $500 radio. Pretty much holds 20 models. It's very easy, friendly, user-friendly, very easy to program. Once you learn, it's got 2 menus, and it's easy to scroll through them and do what you're doing. It has mixing capability and all that, which you'll need on this with the thrust vectoring, so you can tie it in with your rudder and ailerons and stuff, elevator. But I love this little radio. I have 2 of them because it's a wireless trainer system. As long as you're within 15 feet of each other, it's wireless. You don't have to have a cord, so that makes it really nice. Anyway, for $139.95 at Tower Hobbies, you can't beat that. The receivers, the single antenna ones are $20, I think, or maybe $18, and the dual antennas receivers, 6 channels, full range, both of them are. They are, I think, $25. So, and if you buy them in a bulk, like I did, you can get them even cheaper than that. You can get them for about 20 bucks a piece. So, anyway, they're great for electrics. They even work on bigger nitros. Like I said, it's a great entry-level radio. But Alex, I think you already have a Spectrum, I believe, so you're probably going to use a Spectrum receiver. But anyway, first thing we're going to do is we are going to power this up. I've already put the name of the plane in, and you probably can't see it, but I put F-16 RWB, and the reason I did that is because this plane is red, white, and blue, kind of like the Air Force Thunderbirds. I have another F-16 70mm, but it's gray. It's a LX brand. So to distinguish between the two, on the other one I'll put F-16 LX, and that way I'll know which one's which when I go in here to change my radio. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to link the receiver, and to do that you don't have to hook up the big battery. I'm just going to use a bench battery. We are going to power up the receiver, and we're going to take a little pin. There's a little bitty button right here. Push in on that till the light blinks through, see, and then let off of it. Blinks about 3 times. Let off the button, and you are linked. It's that simple. I really like these little Tactic receivers and radios. I've been using them for several months now, probably almost a year. I have not had one single glitch with these things. They're really cool. So I just got it to put all my little electric stuff in because my JR 9303 was getting full. So I'm keeping all my bigger gas and nitro planes in that. So anyway, we've got that linked up now. We can go ahead and turn this off. We're not going to need it for a little while, and we'll lay it aside. And this plane is, like I said, not anything like building a balsa covered ARF. This only takes a couple hours or so, and it doesn't take that many tools. You'll need a couple different size screwdrivers, mostly Phillips head. I may need to go in and get some Allen wrenches, I'm not sure, but I don't think we will. Parallel needle nose and some cutters, and that's about all you need, and a mixing pad and stir sticks. It comes with its own epoxy. I've heard some people say they were kind of skeptical about using their epoxy, but I've used it on my other Freewing models that I built. I have two more, F-16 Eagle and the Panther, and the glue seems to be holding just fine. I haven't had a bit of problem with it. So, alright, that's about all you'll need to put this thing together. This one runs on a 4-cell 14.8 volt 2200 milliamp hours, what they're calling for. You can probably get one in there a little bit bigger. I haven't really looked at the battery compartment yet, but I'm going to start with that. Calls for a 20C, but I'm going to go ahead and jump up and use a 30C on this. It'll be fine. You just don't want to go below the 20. It'll overheat your battery and ESC. So anyway, first thing we'll get out of here will be the fuselage. And got your thrust vectoring back here. The elevator servo is already hooked up to it, but you have to hook the one to the rudder over here on this ball link. But we'll do that, and then it's got your wiring coming back to your motor. There is some little Allen screws right there on that linkage. I don't know if you can see those. I will go in and get my Allen wrenches and my Loctite, and I will pull those out and put Loctite on them. Any screws that are metal to metal, do not trust the company. Get in there and put Loctite on them to be sure, because you do not want something, any of this coming loose in midair and lose your plane because of that. So the companies are not real good about putting Loctite on their screws and stuff. So we will do that to this. So anyway, I'm going to lay this down here and kind of get the book out and see what else we need to do first, and then I'll be back in just a minute. Okay guys, first step is put the wings on. And it shows, the book is very vague, so you're going to need a little building experience to be able to build this, because it's basically just a few pictures and it really doesn't show a whole lot. So anyway, it shows to mount the wings first, which is fine, and then put the little missiles on the end of the tip of the wings. But I'm actually going to wait and do that later, so because they kind of stick out here, and that'll be a less chance of breaking them off and everything. If I put them on right now, I'm liable to bust them, so I'm going to wait and put them on last after it's pretty much finished. Just glue on the end. Anyway, look over all your parts. This is an EPO or styrofoam, I guess it's EPO foam, but check everything out. I pulled this wing out, and the first thing I noticed was the aileron was sticking up above the level of the wing. See all that slack? Well, this first hinge is loose on the aileron side. Or no, it's loose on the, it's actually loose on both of them. So I'm going to have to get that out of there and put some epoxy on each end of that to make sure it's tight. The other wing's okay, but this one's really loose, so we don't want to, we sure don't want that coming apart in midair. So we're going to fix that before we mount the wings. A couple other things I was looking at. I am not going to use the landing gear on this, so the first thing I did was take the linkage out of here for the front landing gear. I have a grass runway, and I think I've seen people take this off on grass, but I'm kind of funny. I like more scale. I don't like flying a jet around with the landing gear hanging down, so I'd rather belly land it. When I first looked at this, I was a bit concerned, mainly because of this vent air intake up here. And then the other thing was on the thrust vectoring, the elevator part, there's a servo right here sticking down. Now there is two little guards back here to protect that. I've seen a ton of guys on YouTube that are belly landing this, so I don't think that'll be too big of a problem. And the thing is, this thrust vectoring, if you pull up some of these YouTube videos on this Freewing F-16, you'll watch what they're doing. They're feathering this in. They're almost landing this thing vertical. They're just feathering it in with the nose stuck up in there and just setting it down. It's not scooting a foot on the ground. So that's probably how they're getting by with not damaging anything on here, because a lot of them are doing that. So we're not going to be too concerned with that at the moment. The other thing I found is the battery compartment. This is foam and there's some little stops on it. Well, to slide that battery down in there, it puts pressure on this and it actually cracks it right there. So what I'm going to do, and also it lets the battery kind of slide back and forth sideways. It doesn't up and down, but it'll slip sideways. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my razor knife. I can find it. Well, I didn't get it. I'll have to go get it. But I'm going to take my razor knife. I'm going to lay my battery. Let's see if I can get the camera down here where you can see it. I'm going to lay my battery where the stop is inside here, about where it should go. Center it. And then I'm going to mark just outside of that. And I'm going to take my razor knife and cut this out so I can stick my battery straight down in there instead of having to wedge it under that. And I'm going to put Velcro on the bottom of it and in the bottom of the plane so it holds it in place, because I don't want it shifting side to side either. That's going to throw your lateral balance off. So anyway, let me go get my razor knife and we'll be right back. Okay, I got my knife here. Get this turned down here. I've already got it marked, so I'm going to very carefully slice through that. It's not going to hurt anything as far as stability. It's just hollow under here anyway, but it will make it a lot easier to get your battery in and out, because it was really tough to get it in and out of there without busting this stuff. Okay, now let's see what we got. See, that will just lay right down in there, and it won't slide much forward, but see how much slop is in it. And anyway, what I'm going to do is put a full length of industrial strength Velcro in the bottom of it, and then, you know, a full length on the battery too as well, so it will hold it in place and it'll keep it centered as far as center of gravity. Now I've got about a ½ inch to slide back and forth for CG adjustment, so hopefully this thing comes out well. If not, we'll have to add a little weight somewhere, but that's going to make that much easier to get that battery in and out of there. And your canopy still fits really well. There's nothing, doesn't affect that at all. While we're at this point, I want to show you something else. These little tabs on these canopies on these foam planes, that will break off very easy. The first thing, I bet the second flight on my Panther, I broke that off. Well, here's what you need to do, and it will really help. Get you 2 round toothpicks, the stronger ones, and then when you've got some glue mix for something like the wings, then put a little bit of glue on the tip of that, stick that in until it just comes out the back side. Doesn't have to be real straight, just, you know, straight as you can get it. And then let that glue dry. Put 2 of them in it. Put 1 on each side here. Okay. Then after it dries, you can take your side cutters right here and clip those off, or you can take a real sharp razor knife and just kind of saw them off, and they'll be flush. But that will reinforce that. It puts a wood dowel all the way through to this to makes that a lot stronger, and it won't break as easy on you. So we'll do that later. When I get some glue mixed, I'll put these in permanent and show you how to do that. But that's the first thing I do on any of these that have the little styrofoam abutment, is it goes in that little hole, and what happens, you'll pull the front of the canopy up, and the magnets will kind of stick, and it'll kind of jerk, and you'll bend that up and it'll just pop it. So that will help keep that from doing that. So it works real well. Alright, we got the battery compartment cut out. I am going to get some glue out here and get it mixed, and we'll fix the aileron. and probably do the toothpicks in this at the same time. We'll be right back. Okay, we've got our little bit of epoxy mixed here, and what I'm going to do, rather than take this hinge completely out, you can go to the back side here and kind of open it up and get down in underneath it and kind of behind it. Let me raise this up a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is use my toothpick. I'm going to put a little bit on the tip of that, and I'm going to use this toothpick to get down in behind that hinge. I do not want to get any glue on the surface, the hinge part that actually has to move, so we're going to put a little blob down in behind that. And then we can do the aileron surface the same way. Get glue down in, you can poke that way down in there with that toothpick. So, okay. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a pretty good blob of that on top of the surface, in between the foam right here, on top of that little hinge deal, and let that dry. Put that on both sides, and that will hold that just fine. It's got quite a bit on the other one. I don't know why this one was loose, but all the rest of them seem to be pretty good. So, alright, now we're going to lay this flat right here. Let that dry. Let me move this. It's got my mixing stick. We'll lay that right there, and that way that surface will lay flat with the wing and let it dry on that box. Now we're going to take the canopy like I showed you, and we're going to put just don't have to be much, a little bit of glue on that. We've already got our holes started, and we're going to stick that through there and get the other one. What do with it? Okay, stick that one in there, get some of the glue worked down in the hole, stick that through. Alright, we are going to let that dry before we clip these off. Once it's dry good, we can take the side cutters and clip the point off the back, and you don't even have to do that really, it's not going to be in the way of anything, but I'm going to keep from getting hung on it, and clip those off and let that dry real good first, and that will keep that from breaking as easy. Get some of the excess glue off of here. It's not going to matter because this doesn't touch anything, but okay. Alright, we'll lay that aside, let that dry, and we'll tear our glue pad off that's wet so we don't stick our hand or foot or whatever in it. I'm going to put that down in the trash can here. Okay, now after that, well, actually I'm going to do one wing at a time, so I'm probably going to test fit this one. It's all good and tight. Let me see. First thing you want to do is test fit everything before you put any glue on it. Make sure it all fits real good, and you do not have to do any kind of whittling, trimming or anything. So, okay, that one fits really good. So this is 5-minute epoxy, probably. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put the glue on it, and I'm going to hold this real flush for a little while, and then we'll let it dry, and then we'll come back and do the other one. So let me get this one glued in place, and by then the hinge will be dry on the other one. We'll do it too. Okay, I forgot to tell you, get your denatured alcohol and your paper towels out, because you're going to have a little bit of excess glue kind of squirt out of this. So we're going to do the bottom first. Just the bad thing is you got alcohol on it, but for whatever reason this towel still wants to stick. Okay, that ain't gonna work. This particular type of towel, it's some real soft ones, and it's leaving residue on here, so I'm gonna have to try to scrape off without scraping the paint. So this is more like a tissue paper. You're gonna need a different type of paper towel so it doesn't make a mess on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that towel and I'm going on top. I don't want to mess anything up, so I'm just going to spray my finger with alcohol and wipe that little bead off right there. And wipe it on the towel. If you put alcohol on your finger, it'll come right off. But that way it won't stick white paper towel fuzzies all over your wing. So anyway, this one's almost set up already. I about waited too long. Anyway, I got that one glued. It's nice and square, both sides. So we're going to let that one set. And then we'll check the hinge on this here in a minute. Let me get this towel folded up before I get glue on my bed. My wife won't be happy about that. Anyway, we'll come back and put the other one on here in just a second. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and put it on, since you've already seen how to do one of them, and then we'll go the next step. Okay guys, your rudder, or I mean not rudder, sorry, elevators, the whole thing moves, so it's not like it has a stab and elevator. It's all one elevator. It's got a little rod coming out of it, and there's a little bushing right here, and then the tip for your linkage to hook to. This little cap right here has got a split in it. I don't know if you can see that, so I'm gonna have to do something about that. I'll probably put glue, CA glue in it, and then maybe a little zip tie around it or something to keep that from popping off. Let's check the other one. The other one looks okay, so I don't know what's happened there, but anyway, your little rod will point down, and actually I need to fix that before I put that one on. Let's do this one. There'll be a little bitty bag and the stuff with your landing gear, and there'll be these little plastic plates, and there's 8 little screws in there. And what that does, if I can get it around here where you can see it, the elevator, the little bushing goes in that groove right there, and then the screws go through that plate over the rod, and that way it lets this whole thing turn like that. So let me see. I think what I'll do is start a couple of the screws, because they kind of thread into this too. So I'm going to start on my thread or two, at least 2 of them, and get one end of it started. So okay, now I don't know if I can, hopefully I can try to do this where you can see it, but it's going to be a little difficult. Until I get one screw started anyway. Oh, come on. I can kind of press that into that wood, make it stay there for a minute. I'm going to hold it with my thumb and get my screwdriver up here. Okay. Doggone it. Told you this was going to be, this is almost a 2-people job here. It's got a piece of wood glued onto the back of the fuse here that the screws goes into. Or plastic maybe, I don't know. There it goes, it took. Now, I can kind of hold that in place. Let me see if I can get the other one started. At least I've got pilot holes for you to screw them into. You want to be sure to keep this aligned straight while you're screwing them in. Okay, now see if I can get another screw started here. This is the only kind of tough part. The rest of it's been pretty easy. I think once you get all 4 of these in here though, it'll be fine. Snug down. Alright. One more screw. hold of it here where I can put a little pressure on it. You don't need to put Loctite on these because they're screwing into wood. Looks like a little wood deal. So, need to back them out just a hair so it's not so tight. Don't tighten them down to where it won't let your elevator move freely. It'll put too much pressure on your servo and burn it up. Back them out just a hair more. Okay, that's pretty good. We'll snug them down. Probably wouldn't hurt to put a little drop of super glue on these and screw them in, but that'll work. Okay, now I'm going to have to fix that little plastic tip on this one before I put it on, so I'm going to do that and I'll be back in just a second. Okay, we got this fixed. Where that little deal was split. This is not going to show much because it's underneath, but I filled it full of CA, thin CA, and then I put a zip tie around it, and I didn't have a white one, so I had to use a yellow. But and I cinched it down real good, trimmed it off with a razor knife, and then I put glue around it also, so that'll hold that where it won't come loose. So check everything before you put this together and make sure all the pieces are in good shape. And like I say, just patch it, fix it however you need to. Haven't run into much problem, but this little thing. So let's get this one on. And let's see, get a screw in it. Okay, slide our little bushing over in the hole. Wow, this is fun. Trying to Alright, let me get my screwdriver over here. I'm going to put that top hole where I can maybe get it started easier. This is almost a two-person job here. Alex, you might want to get your dad to help hold this piece while you put the screws in this thing, if you get this one. You can do it one-handed, but it's hard. Just be sure you get your screws started straight, which I can't even get it started. So, go back to the drawing board. Alright, get it in the hole. Get my screwdriver on and try to put a little pressure. Get it started threading. Once it takes, it'll go right in. This one's being stubborn. There it goes. There we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and kind of pull that down on that deal. Let's get another screw over here. You got to put a little pressure to get it to start threading. And once you do, it goes in pretty good. Two more on the bottom. One more. Okay, there we go. Got two elevator halves. Now you see, you can't even hardly see that little deal I put on. I mean, it's kind of hid underneath. The rudder and stuff will be up here. So anyway, got that all installed. I think the next step is the rudder, but let me go check the book. I'll be right back. Okay, I found one more thing that I don't care for. They've got a little quick connect. You see that on the rudder? Well, look at the slack in it. You do not want that much slack. So they've got Loctite on it. What I'm going to do is take the nut off, and I've got some little tiny thin washers off of this other one, and I will put that on there. I'll put a washer on each side, maybe 2 on the bottom, and then snug that up, because you want that snug. You don't want any slack in it. So let me get that done, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got this off. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but the threads on this little thing are crap. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. Yeah, it's not going to focus on it, but anyway, they are junk. They're not even hardly any threads on it, so I'm going to throw this thing away and use one of mine that I have. So Alex, if you get this, you might want to buy you a new little quick connect similar to this, but I would double nut the bottom of it. What I'm going to do, let me get this off. Well, I may not have room. No, I won't be able to, but we'll Loctite it really good. Alright, I got a washer on the top side, so let me put it through the hole. There we go. Alright, this one fits much snugger. It doesn't have slack in it. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a washer on the bottom, and it looks like it's going to take 2 little washers, and they're little tiny flat washers. So you're probably going to want to change this out when you get this plane. Now we're going to put some Loctite on it. Silly thing, it's plugged up. Let me see if I can get it unstopped. This stuff is almost as bad as super glue about plugging up. This is my older bottle too. It's seen a lot of use. Let me see. There we go. Alright, we'll put just a little bit of Loctite on there. And what this one has is a little thumb screw. It's got little knurl edges on it. Either one you can use, a nut or this, but let's get that on there. Come on. Now, I tightened it down, but then I backed it off just a hair. I'm going to let that Loctite set. You want this where it'll spin freely, but you don't want slack in it. So see, that one's nice and snug. And you're not going to get any slop in your rudder. That'll cause flutter. When you have slack like that, it can cause your rudder to flutter and cause vibration. So you don't want any slack in any of your linkage. So we'll put just a little drop of that on the back side of the nut. Alright, we will let that dry good, and then we'll install it on the airplane. Be back in a little bit. Oh yeah, one other thing I forgot. Let's clip these toothpicks off. I'm going to go ahead and clip the inside pieces too. There you go. That's highly reinforced. And that just sticks up into that hole, so it doesn't matter. You can sand those down if you want to, but it's not going to hurt anything because there's nothing behind it for it to stick into. So there you go. Nice and snug, and a lot less chance of you breaking it when you pull that out. So cool. Alrighty, move on to gluing the rudder in. Alright guys, we are up to hooking the linkage up, and we're going to go ahead and hook this vector linkage over here on this side. Take a pair of vice grips and hold the little rod. You can thread them on pretty easy. Now this little ball link should be slightly beveled on one side. Looks like this side here, so be sure and turn that toward the ball so it snaps on and off easy. And I may have to go get my helicopter ball link pliers to snap this on, I'm not sure. Oops, I'm going to tighten my grips down. Spinning on me. So, what we're going to have to do, see, I've got the radio on, got the powered up, I've got the thrust vectoring on, so let's see. It looks about 90 degree there. Let me turn this on around. Just one more notch. Get it 90 degree with that front bend. There we go. Now we're just going to have to put it on here and see what we got and adjust from there. Okay, I've gone in way too far, so let's take it back out. Clamp down on there again. That's doggone it. It's trying to spin on me. Alright, let's see if we can loosen that. Probably quite a bit. Let me make sure I've got the right. You know what? Let me see here what I got. Okay. Yeah, that's the ailerons for sure. Well, what do we got going on? Oh, okay. Here we go. I had the wrong one. It's this long one right here. So let's take this off. I was looking at that. That's the arm from the control horn. I had it in. Goodness. Okay. Start over here. Take that one out. Put this one in here. And thread this one on. Let me get this thing screwed up on here pretty good, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, let's do a 90 degree. Now let's check it before we go any farther. Yeah. Get it in the little hole. What's the deal here? Come on. Okay. That's pretty close, but what we're going to have to do is I got to figure out how to get this in from this side, because it's going to be a bind out there. So let me look this over and I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, we've got thrust vectoring all working, and you have to use a mix in your radio, and you mix it whatever channel you have the up and down with your elevator, and the right and left with your rudder, and you mix those channels, set them to 100% so it moves the same amount as your rudder. We've got rudder movement and we've got elevator movement. Now I set this up on this switch right here. I can turn this off, so it's just elevators, and then I can turn it on, so you can turn it on and off in mid-flight. So anyway, that's the way you want that set up. And Alex, I don't know, I want to say you have a Spectrum radio, I'm not real sure, but you probably know how to do your mixes in there. But anyway, you'll have to do that, and if you need any help, just give me a holler. I can help you out, probably an email or something, tell you how to do it. Alright, we got that done. Now we're going to turn it over and hook the linkage to the elevators. I'll be back in just a second. Okay guys, now that we got all the thrust vectoring set up, here's a view from the bottom, all the linkage. Let's get the elevators hooked up. I've already screwed the clevises on here, but just, screw them on where they just barely start to stick out, and that gives you enough room to flex back and forth. Okay, now we are gonna, you know what, them holes won't hardly go in there. I'm gonna have to get my drill and drill out them little holes. Let me run and get it. Alright, gonna drill these holes out so the wires will fit, and you want to stick a little piece of wood underneath there so it doesn't go through, tear anything up. Got that one. I'll switch hands here. Put that on there and I'm going to hold the other end of it. Okay, there we go. Now, let's try this again. Put the Z-bend down through there. And I guess we're just going to have to hook this dude up. And I gotta get that parallel vice grips. Hold of it. Not gripping it. Hang on. Too much. Golly. Okay. Now, I think we're about a 90. Nope, we're still off. Man, that thing is tight. Back just a little. Golly, I went too much. So hard to get that just right. Okay. Alright, now let's see if we can get it to... Goodness, I ain't wanting to go through those holes either. I have to drill them out. Golly. There we go. Where'd my needle nose go? Oh, good grief, I had them here just a little bit ago. Here with that. Okay, now let's turn it up, and we've got to screw it in a couple of turns. It's got to be parallel with the center of this, so we got to go up quite a bit. So, all right, I got to get it. Well, here they are. I had them over here somewhere. That off. So, looks like approximately 2 turns maybe. You know what, I'm just going to take that out. That's got a bad little rubber deal on it. So let's get one off of this. Put on here, a little safety keeper. If these break on you, you can just use a piece of fuel tubing on there. Alright, I think I can hold this. So I need to go in. There's half a turn, there's 1 turn. Oh, there's 2. Now I get it 90 degree with the Z-bend. You don't want to put any extra torque on your control surface. There we go. Now let's see where we are. Oh, we are just about dead center. I think that's good. Guess that one perfect. Now I can go ahead and slide my little rubber thing up on there, which I did. Alright, let's go this one. Well, I gotta get it 90 degree. Let's see. Come on. I keep going too much one way or the other. There we go. Put that one in there. Well, this one's going to have to go way up. I couldn't get these sub-trimmed perfect 90s on both of them the way they are. It'd have to be on a separate channel. It's on a Y harness the way they've got it done. So, but that's alright. I already took 6 channels the way it was. So let's go half. 1, half, 2, half, 3, half, 4. Go 4 on this one. See where I can get it to. Oh, that's going to be pretty close. I think we need to go in. Not too far. I didn't drill it out, did I? That's what's wrong. Okay, now get it in there. And I always want to snap that shut so it's accurate and it's not got any slop in it. Alright, that one needs to go in some more. So, let's take it back out. Pliers, hold of it again. Alright, there's one turn. Let's go 1.5 and see what that does. Oh man, it looks good. Looks like they are centered up really well. See what we got on movement. Alright, something's backwards. Elevator's backwards. Okay. We go in. Servo set. Elevator is channel 2. Let's reverse that. Okay. There we go. Now we got up elevator and up thrust vectoring. It does not give you any throw settings in the book, so I'm just having to guess what these are. So I started out, I don't think it's going to take a lot of throw to control this thing, so I started out on low rates with about 55-60%. High rates on 80, and I'll fill it out first flight and see how it is, and then I'll adjust that accordingly. But it doesn't tell you anything on the book about how to set dole rates, so you're just guessing on your own. But Alex, once I get this trimmed out after the maiden flight and readjusted, I will let you know what I set the throws at, what percentage and stuff. So it's going to be a few days before I get the maiden flight in, because I'm going to be gone next weekend camping. And I don't think I'm going to be anywhere near a field or anywhere where I can do the maiden flight, so it'll probably be a couple weeks before I can do that. But we'll get the rest of this hooked up. We're almost done. All I got to do now is hook up the aileron linkage, and basically you do it the same exact way as you did the elevators. So I'm not going to bore you with the whole deal of that. Just adjust your clevises to where you've got them. You want them lined up. See if I can get on here. You want them square with this outside edge of the wing here. So you can put a clamp on it if you need to, but you can just eyeball it. Just get those lined up perfect, and make sure your right direction, right and left, is right on them. So cool. I think this is going to be a really fun plane. I'm looking forward to flying it. Anyway, let me get the ailerons hooked up. And then I will be back after that. I haven't glued the rudder on because I want to be able to lay it on its back and stuff. I don't have my stand in here. So after we get the ailerons hooked up, then we'll flip it back over and I'll do the rudder and hook it up, and I'll show you how to do that. So be back in a minute. Okay guys, we're back. Time to mix up some glue here and put the rudder in place and the vertical fan. Get some glue mixed up. Now you want to be careful on this because your wires are sticking up in here from your fan. So you want to be sure they're pushed down in there. There's a little lip along the edge here. I don't know if you can see that on both sides, but there's a little bit of a lip right there. And we're going to try to keep from getting any glue on the wiring if we can help it, in case you ever had to change the fan out or something. I just got the glue on my deal there. But anyway, so what we're going to do is just put it along the edge here on these parts, and then from this line back, I'm going to put it on the edge here. And then on the front, and then from this line right here back, we're going to coat the whole bottom because it sticks to it right here. So I got my glue mixed up. Let me get it on there. So we're going to start about right there. We're going to put a pretty good little chunk because this is probably not going to squeeze out since this goes down in a pretty heavy groove. So we're going to put a pretty good little bit on here. Now up here we just want a little bit along this edge, and then just a little on the other side, so I can get it a bit more on here. And I am going to put just a little bit on the front right here, but that way maybe we can keep it off of the wires. Okay, I got that coated good. Let's lay that back over there. Now, keep in mind this wire, there's a plastic tube that comes out the bottom of this. You got to put that wire through that and it comes out back here. So, put your wire through there. And start the end of it up there. Push down on the back of it, hold the bottom of the plane, put pressure all the way down. Fits really nice and snug. And it's definitely nice and centered in the fuselage, so I don't think there's any reason to tape it or anything. I mean, it fits right in there really straight. So get that rudder. Yeah, it's perfect right there. So all right, we're gonna let that dry. Let me see if I can bend this around here and get my wire through that hole. Come on. Get hold of it with some pliers. Well, my little Allen nut must be screwed down too far. There we go. And we got it in there. We're just going to snug that for right now. We're going to come back in just a little bit, turn the radio back on, and center this up and tighten that down with some Loctite on it. But we want to let this glue dry really good in here. Make sure it's still down in our deal. Our rudder is centered, and it looks perfect right down the center of the fuselage. Starting to look like an airplane now, isn't it? Okay, we'll let that dry, and then we'll come back and tighten this up. And then we glue the nose cone and the bombs and stuff on. Okay guys, we're down to the rudder. I've got my radio on, got it powered up. So we're going to take out this little set screw. Leave it on the Allen wrench. Put a little bit of Loctite on it. And we're going to thread it back down in there. We're going to hold the rudder even with the top here. Kind of halfway cinch it down. Now I'm going to get my needle nose. I'm going to hang on to this quick connect really tight. And I'm going to cinch that down. Okay. Just man, did that thing got some rudder throw. Wow, I'll probably have to tone that down a little bit. Looks a little much, but we'll see. Like I said, the book doesn't tell you anything about how to set it, so I'm going to trim that just a little. Not wanting to center up perfect. Probably cheap servos, but anyway, it doesn't quite center that way or that way, so you just have to kind of hit it. The air movement will probably center it up. But anyway, there's all the throws and everything. Now, the only problem I have, I still have to glue the little missiles on the wings and a couple of little things, and I think that's it. Let's see what all we got here. Yeah, got a couple little fins that go somewhere, and not sure where all this goes. We'll figure it out in a minute, but I gotta glue all that on. But everything else, all the throws are set. She's ready to go. We're made in flight other than that. Now here's my problem. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I've got my throttle trim all the way down like it's supposed to be on electric. All my switches are forward. I plug the power in. It beeps. Okay, that should indicate that it's armed. I have no throttle, so I'm not real sure what's going on there. I'm going to try one other thing. I know this is kind of weird, but I'm going to put the throttle at full. Let's see what it does. Okay, that's telling me that it's on full. Go back to the bottom. I get 2 beeps. I get no thrust. So, I'm not real sure what's going on there, whether it's the ESC or the fan. The wires are connected because I looked at them before I put the tail on. Let's do this. Let's turn it around here carefully. You have a hatch right here on the bottom that you can get to your... It's got magnets on it. So there's your fan right there. So it's not locked up or anything. There's the motor, brushless motor. We are not getting any throttle to it, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I've got it plugged into channel 3 like it said on my receiver. So anyway, got that problem to work out, but so far everything's going pretty good. Let me get some of these missiles and stuff out and figure out where they go, and we'll come back and glue them on. Alright, Alex, these little blocks right here, the instructions doesn't even show them. It doesn't show where they go, but it's pretty easy to figure out. This slanted groove here, what it does, it glues right over the back of that and covers up where you screwed that little plastic plate on. Anyway, those will glue on right there onto that little piece of plywood, and that won't stay without glue. But anyway, we'll glue those on, and then the missiles, it does show those. This piece here glues on the end of the wing, this little groove, and then your missile glues to that little groove right there, and that goes on each wing tip. So other than that, we're just about done. So I'm going to glue this stuff on, and then I'll show you the finished product. Okay, when you glue these, be sure and only put glue on these 2 surfaces right here and here. You don't want to get anything in here that's going to glue to your linkage, so just those 2 spots is all you put on this. So we'll put just a little bit across there, a little bit there. Stick this up on there, get it centered, put a little pressure on it. think that one will stay. I'm gonna have to hold this other one, but anyway, that's how those go. So not a whole lot holds them on. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera off, but I'm gonna hold these while they set. So be back in a bit. Okay, we got missiles on the end of the wings. These other two fins, it didn't show in the book anything about them either. It doesn't show where they go, but they go on the bottom, and this is the cover where your ducted fan is, and they go in that. I've got my doubts. I watched these guys on YouTube belly landing these in the grass, but I'm thinking they may have left these off, so I may have to cut them off. Not real sure, but I need to go back and check out some of the videos and see what's going on there. But I have a feeling there's no way those are going to stay on there if I belly land this in the grass. It's probably going to rip them right off, so I may have to cut them. I don't know. I'll go back and look at some videos and get some opinions. Anyway, she's all done. Hang on just a second. Anyway, she's all done, guys. Finished up, ready to fly. Well, except for the motor. I still cannot get the fan to kick on, so I don't know. I had this problem with another one time, but I don't even know what I did, and all of a sudden it started working, so I'm not sure. Though there's a couple things. I've either got something not programmed right in my radio, or ESC, or the motor's bad, one or something, maybe hooked up wrong, but I'll have to dig into that before we can do the maiden. Anybody out there that knows anything about these EDFs that can tell me what I'm doing wrong, maybe in the radio or something. I've got the throttle trim all the way down. I went in and checked throttle cut, all that. I cannot get it to kick on. It beeps the beeps like it's initiating, but it will not throttle up. So if anybody has any advice, please holler at me. I've got a electronic guru, RC guru in Fayetteville. I'm gonna call him tomorrow and see if he can tell me what's going on with it. So anyway, all right, guys, we'll see you at the field. Alex, I hope this helped you out some, bud, on the build. And if you need any help, just send me an email or something, and I'll be glad to try to help you out.